stay-at-home mom. I've been in the industry for about 6 years. I was doing studio, shooting like mainstream adult, like for studios, and I took a break in around 2018 and I came to the East Coast and I met my boyfriend, now husband at the time, and I got pregnant. So I kind of put my career on hold a little bit. Had my daughter for almost 4 years ago, and yeah, now I'm just kind of a stay-at-home mom, but I'm kind of getting back into focusing more on like my solo content, like working from home, and hopefully getting back into camming in a few weeks.
What safety measures have you implemented to protect you or your family's privacy?
Me personally, I do not post anything about my personal life that is not related to work. Even as a separate profile, like I don't do it at all. My family are very private. I keep my kids away from that. If I do post them, I would reference them. Like I would, post a hand or the back of their head or something, and I would put it on close friends or something like that where it's people I'm following back. But I would say I go through pretty drastic measures in the sense that I just like don't post them at all, their face, nothing. And that's just a personal choice. I don't know whether that's the right choice. It is for me, but I can't speak for all parents, but that's the thing that I do, only because I would like to separate the two. And I'm very open about, my adult career, talking about sex and anything that's related to my work. But when anything is about like my personal life, husband, kids, family, friends that aren't in the industry, I keep that totally separate. I don't even have an account for that. Sometimes I like to reference them because they are a big part of my life, and that's what I do in my daily life is being a mom. So I don't necessarily hide that, but it's something that I'm just not comfortable sharing. A lot of people in the industry that do have kids and do make that decision to put their kids online, I see some of the things that are being said, and it's not, it makes me sad, it makes me really mad. I think it's just like there's such a bad stigma around it, and I definitely don't think that they should be allowed to put their kids and their family on. Like they deserve to like show their life, but at the same time I just think people are so malicious, and I just want to protect my family from that for as long as I can.
Do you know other parents who work in adult? Is it important for you to have connections with other parents who can relate?
I do know other parents and adult, but they're really far, and that makes me sad. We A lot of the times we DM about the same kind of paranoia we have. I talked to another mom and she's like, "Oh my God, I hate when people from my past hit me up and they see that I have a child." And we were just like getting paranoid together, almost like, should we feel guilty for what we do or have done? And the answer is no, we shouldn't. But of course, that thought does come into your mind. And so it's really nice to, have that connection. I really wish that I could have that more and have someone at least like in the same country or even the same state. I'm really still looking for that kind of community. I think that it is incredibly isolating to be a mother already, and then on top of that having a job that is like so stigmatized. It's really hard to make connections. So that's something that I would like to see happening. I've done like yeah, those mom apps. It's like Tinder for moms. I've made a couple connections on there, but I admit it's really, really hard. I want to be open about what I do, but you just like never know what their response is going to be. And I just want to be able to like hang out with other people in the industry. We already know what we do for a living, because that seems to be such a big question for people. It's like, what do you do? And I usually say I'm a stay-at-home mom, but then they're like, but what did you do before? And then it becomes this thing, and it's just, yeah, it's hard. I think I find that pretty hard. And I think now that my kids in school, I will kind of discover what that's like. I don't know yet, but I'm a little kind of apprehensive about it.
You made two really interesting points just now. One, you mentioned guilt. So it's like mommy guilt is real, but there's that added layer that I didn't even reconcile, which is like your chosen career path and how that could affect not just you, but even your kid and the feelings that come with that. Like I didn't even think
Yeah.
about those implications.
But that's a question that a lot of people that aren't in the industry ask people in the industry. I've noticed that it's like, what are you going to tell your kids? Or
Mm,
did you think about how this could impact them? And like, they just automatically assume we're bad parents. And it's
yeah.
so weird to me because I dedicate so much of my life to my kids. And I think with doing a job like this, I will be able to, well, being freelance, I will be able to be there for my kids and decide and prioritize them and like, so I'm like, how is that bad that I'm going to be present for them just because that's
Right.
the career I chose. And it was a career I chose like way before I had before, I didn't know I was going to have kids. I honestly didn't want kids, but I don't think a career should affect that.
You said that you were on these apps connecting with like other moms, but particularly civilian moms. And
Mhm.
whenever you got to the point where they asked, like, what do you do? I feel like that would explaining, like being transparent about what you do, that might very well override like the fact that you're a mom. And so maybe the mom part might take a back seat to like what you do in a civilian's mind versus if you did have the opportunity to connect with other people, other parents who are an adult, then they just see you for you as a parent and not
Thank
necessarily.
you. Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm like, I need to reach out and like connect with more moms that are in my industry because I don't want to have to like explain myself. And I feel like with this job, you shouldn't, but you end up having to explain your choices that maybe you wouldn't be if you were doing something more conventional. And that's really hard that like I automatically feel like I have to explain myself when I shouldn't. I should just be focusing on being a mom and making, real connections. Would I get these questions if I said I was doing something else that wasn't adult? I don't know.
What instances have or would you ever open up about your profession with civilians in your community? Would you say that you're generally forthcoming or more reserved with this information?
When I really get along with someone, if I kind of talk with them, I'm like, I really like this person, I feel safe, I will then open up and tell them. And it usually is received well, but I kind of have to like gauge, like, is this person a safe person to tell or not? I'm not like fully open about it. I don't lie. I would never lie about it, but I wouldn't just volunteer that information, especially not with teachers or strangers. Because again, it's stigmatized, and I don't know if they're gonna use that information against me. There's just no way of knowing. So when I have built trust, then I will open up about it. Before I became a mom, I was always volunteering that information. I want to be open about what I do, but you just like never know what their response is going to be. And I just want to be able to like hang out with other people in the industry. We already know what we do for a living because that seems to be such a big question for people. It's like, what do you do? And I usually say I'm a stay-at-home mom, but then they're like, but what did you do before? And then it becomes this thing, and it's just, yeah, it's hard. I think I find that pretty hard. And I think now that my kids in school, I will kind of discover what that's like. I don't know yet, but I'm a little kind of apprehensive about it. But now that I have kids, I am a little bit more careful of who I tell.
What are your feelings around having a conversation with your child about your chosen industry and occupation? And what age would you feel that it'd be ideal for you to do so?
When I first got into the industry, I did not think that I would be having kids ever. So when I did become a parent, I was kind of like fuck. I don't know. But now the more, they're growing up, I think the best thing to do is to be honest about it. I don't think I would give explicit detail of what I do until they're much older. I haven't really planned that out yet. My kids are still really young, but I want to raise them in a sex positive environment. I think it becomes, if I hide it, then it becomes this big thing like I'm doing something wrong. And I don't want them to feel, I don't want to send the message that what I'm doing is wrong. So I do plan to be open about it. When I think at a young age, I might vaguely mention it, maybe not the explicit details, but once they're kind of old enough to know what it is, I will definitely be open about it and have that conversation with them. I think the good thing about being in this industry is like you are kind of more, because like with testing and stuff, like you are more like hyper aware of like sex and like STDs and pregnancy. So I will definitely be having that conversation with them because I never had that conversation growing up. And I think a lot of kids don't. I might use it to my advantage to be a little bit more, yeah, like open about it. To, I want them to feel comfortable talking to me about things. I think everyone matures at a different rate. So
I think you'll know though, like that whole parental instinct, but particularly that mother's instinct, I feel like you'll just know whenever
exactly.
they're ready and you're ready.
I'm relying on that fully.
Are your followers aware that you are a parent?
I think the ones that really are like true fans do know because I have referenced being a parent a few times, but I don't think it's a like a common knowledge situation. I think some know, some don't. I don't hide it, but at the same time, I don't, as I said, I don't post my kids on my account. So it depends if they read or not. And a lot of them don't. Like in the captions, I've referenced being a mom, but I don't like a picture of me holding my child or anything like that. As I said, maybe the back of their hand, their head or their hand, but it's not like you don't go on my profile and it's like boom, mom account. Like I don't share that part of me. That is very much the reality of my life as being a mom. Like I don't like being away from my kids that often. I'm in mom mode constantly, but online, that's not what I portray because that's something that is intimate to me. People might find being naked intimate. They don't want to share that. I have no problem sharing that. But for me, my personal life is like very intimate. My family is, I don't share that. I don't talk about that. So I would say maybe 50% or less probably know I'm a parent, but it's not like it's not like something that I base my brand around.
Man, that's also a deep cut. So if like a fan comes to you and they let you know that they're aware of that, or maybe they ask about it, do you know that wow, you've really been paying attention?
Like sometimes I'll get sweet comments like, I hope you and your family are doing well. And like that's really cute without being like, can I see a picture or anything? I would block accounts like that because that's weird. There's no reason for you to see pictures of my kids. But if it's something like, congratulations, hope mom life is treating you well, like I really like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I shared this. It's not a secret, but it's not something that I would, broadcast everywhere. It's just something that I like to mention because I feel weird not mentioning it, but I also would feel incredibly anxious if I shared too much. Like their safety and my privacy means everything to me. Since becoming a parent, maybe I'm a little bit more paranoid all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I need a VPN and I need all this. I need to make my account private. And I do like get a little bit, I do spiral a little bit more. I just wish there was like some kind of like community or, as I said, like a Discord or a Telegram or something because it is very isolating. And I think, as I said, it's even more isolating when you do a job like this.
Expectation versus reality. What's one truth about parenthood that you would tell your pre-parent self?
I think being able to address your traumas, like your upbringing, and not projecting that onto your kids. I have to work so hard to not let things affect my parenting, like my view of certain things. For example, I don't have a great relationship with my family. I love them, but like we're not super close. And I think I get a little bit bitter sometimes, and I can't let that get in the way of how I parent. Like I want my kid to be confident in themselves and have like have healthy relationships. And I think I'm sure I'm doing a good job of that in terms of, my relationship with my kid's dad. Like we have a really, really good, solid relationship. But um, I don't want things from my upbringing that are negative affecting my kids. So I think healing and addressing your issues, I think, is something that I would tell my pre-parent self, like leave that at the door, leave that for your therapist. You should be able to be vulnerable in front of your kids, and you shouldn't be a robot where you don't have any emotions, but to leave your issues for your therapist or your partner or whoever. Don't bring anything that's like could be seen as unhealthy, that behavior. Don't show that in front of your kids, because you want them to be their best self. And I think addressing your traumas and heal as much as you can before you bring kids into the world, so you know what a healthy environment should look like.